Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zara and today I am going to be doing a review of The Mermaid's Tale by DG Valdron. This is one of the most underrated fantasy books I have ever read. It is absolutely phenomenal. I loved everything about it. I read this book upon recommendation from my friend Matt. Shout out to Matt. He is really a master of finding like hidden gems, and he read this book, I think it was a year ago or 2 years ago, and he recommended it to me and a few others. Unfortunately, it was out of print, and then he signaled to us that it was back into print, and I was able to get a copy, and I read it pretty much the next week. At the center of the story, it's a mystery story. We are following essentially a nameless character as she goes on a mission to understand who has killed a mermaid. That's all I'm going to say about the plot. What did I enjoy about this book? I really loved Valdron's writing. Valdron's writing is very unique. I've not read anything quite like his writing before, and I think for a lot of people they might not like it. For me it was an adjustment, but there is a rawness and simplicity to his writing that I just think is absolutely phenomenal. He really captures words, like sounds really weird, but he captures words phenomenally, and he's able to get across his point in a way that isn't overly verbose or descriptive, which I'm very sensitive to. And I really, really appreciate that from him because I just think it really works for this type of story as well. The next thing that I really loved was the character work. So we follow a nameless character who is an Arak. Now, an Arak is a type of race, I guess. So we have vampires in this, we have dwarves as well, I think. We have like a bunch of different fancy races. We have mermaids as well. The main character is an Arak, and an Arak is essentially the lowest of the low in terms of like the totem pole. The Arak are like the abominations. They are the people who are looked down upon. They're seen as the lowest of the low. Everybody hates them for one reason or another. They're dirty, they're gross. They kind of remind me of orcs. When I was visualizing them or attempting to visualize them, I kind of saw orcs from the Lord of the Rings movies. They're like really ugly. There's nothing that is compelling or interesting about them according to the other characters. But I really loved the main character. The arc and the journey that this person goes through is absolutely phenomenal. There was a level of depth to this character that I just did not expect, and by the end of the book I felt a real deep connection to her and the growth that she went through. She starts off as very kind of doesn't care, does what she needs to do, and doesn't really care about people or herself. She kind of fits the stereotype because, you know, at the end of the day, nobody's going to treat her better, so she might as well, right? But by the end of the book, she really becomes this very self-aware individual who really understands the nuances of interactions between different cultures, and she really grows to be somebody who can bring people together rather than be somebody who can push people apart, which is what she's like at the start of the book. I was not expecting it. I was not expecting that level of growth and self-awareness by the end of the story, and she was really at the center of that. She was really at the center of this kind of combination of the really interesting thematic work that happens in this book, which is really around like what happens when essentially like globalization fails. Like that's gonna sound really weird because it's not directly that, but it's really about like what happens when society fails in integrating people together. And what happens is there's a lot of hate and there's a lot of violence and there's a lot of mistreatment of people, and she's at the center of resolving a lot of that conflict, and a lot of that is resolved through her solving her own inner battles and coming to these realizations. And there's so much nuance and depth packed into that, into her and into the thematic work, and they're very closely tied together. And I just thought it was impeccably done, like impeccably done. I could not ask for more than that. There is a really interesting secondary cast of characters. I don't think they're as fleshed out as the main character, but they're fun. I think there's a few fun characters that I quite enjoyed and that I connected with on some level. I would have liked to have seen more, but it is what it is. It's a relatively short book. I think it's about 300-400 pages, so totally understand why the author was not able to do that. It's not a disservice to the book. It's more that I just personally would have liked more time with them, so that's really on me, not really on the author. I thought the pacing was really good. It does start slow, but I don't mind a slow burn, especially because once we kind of get to the smoking gun bit when the crime has happened and the story really picks up, for me, it kind of really gets going and it doesn't really ever stop. So I really liked the pacing. I thought it was done absolutely exceptionally. The one thing that I will mention that I think a lot of people will not like is that there are trigger warnings for a lot of things. There is a very, very graphic assault scene. Very, very graphic. Like, I was not expecting it. It was probably one of the most violent scenes I have ever read. And I've read some pretty violent scenes, and even I kind of cringed a little bit as I was reading it. I was fine. Like, I'm not one of those people that I tend to take what I read in my books away from me unless it's like really impacted a specific part of me, but that didn't happen in this instance. It's just very graphic, and I think a lot of people will get turned off by that. So bear that in mind. There's also just a lot of apathy, and there's no hope in this world, or there's very, very, very little hope in this world. And I think you have to be in a very specific mood to be able to fully enjoy it because of that reason. If you're expecting like a happy, funny book, this is not it. There are some moments of humour, specifically from the main character and her interactions with other characters, that I quite enjoyed. But again, there is this pretty dark backdrop that I don't even think the humour can necessarily counteract. I quite liked it. I love a good dark fantasy book. We all know that. It's primarily what I read these days. But it could probably get quite a lot for some people. This is a book that if you're looking for something that you can just kind of get really stuck into and really go along for the ride and not have to commit to like some really big series, but also have something that's very character centric and where you'll be kind of kept on the edge of your seat, then this is the book for you. It is very layered, like I said, and you might not think it when you first start reading it, but it will surprise you and shock you in ways that you didn't realise, and at least that's what happened for me. And I have to say, I think this was one of the most pleasant surprises that I've ever read. I really trust Matt's opinions because we have very similar taste. But when I first started reading the book, I had my doubts. And then it just hit a certain point and I was like, this is the book for me. I love it. I love everything about it. So definitely go check it out. If you have read it, let me know. I just know that nobody's read it. I know a lot of you who watch my reviews and like similar books to me will love this book. So if you like similar books to me, especially in like grimdark, dark fantasy, if you're a Baker fan, I think you'll enjoy it. The writing style is very different, but I think you'll like certain ways that the author tells the story. The kind of very, very loosely remind me of Baker, and I think you'll get on with it. So definitely check it out. If you have any questions, let me know down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, folks. Stay safe as always, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.